Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 2023 film, The Pope's Exorcist. And I'm going to tell you off the bat, I'm not a big fan of possession movies, but I actually enjoyed this one. I went into it being kind of reticent about it, being like, okay, it looks like it's kind of larger budget, so I don't have a whole lot of faith in it being like super new and interesting. And on top of that, like I said, I'm not a big fan of possession films for the most part. A lot of them feel very samesies to me, so I was kind of expecting that this would just bite off a lot from the original The Exorcist, which, it still does because like every possession movie does to some degree, but it was way less than I expected and actually kind of enjoyed this one. So let's get more into The Pope's Exorcist. Oh, and a lot of people want to know where I get these movies, like where am I watching? I did this one through Netflix DVD because I'm going to keep riding that train until it's dead, which is when I'm recording this pretty soon. Directed by Julius Avery, who also did Son of a Gun, Samaritan, and Overlord. I've actually seen and reviewed Overlord many years ago, actually, on my channel, but it's still there if you want to find that. Written by Michael Petroni, who also wrote Queen of the Damned, The Rite, another possession movie, and The Book Thief, just to name a few. Also, Evan Spiliotopoulos, who also wrote Hercules, The Huntsman, Winter's War, Beauty and the Beast, the live-action one, and Snake Eyes. Not the Nicolas Cage Snake Eyes. The G.I. Joe character Snake Eyes. And R. Dean McCreary, who also wrote the movie Fanboy. This one is supposedly based on the life of an actual exorcist for Rome, the Pope's exorcist, if you will. That's the whole crux of this. This is focused on the guy who is the Pope's exorcist. Synopsis. There's really not a whole lot to say. It's about the Pope's exorcist who is tasked with going to Spain to check out this family who just moved there from the United States, who are experiencing some very troubling things going on with their the young boy. And they think that there's something very wrong going on here. And obviously it has exorcist in the name, so it's a possession movie. So other than that, I don't want to say anything else because if you want to see it, I don't want to ruin anything. So anyway, the opening scene is one you'd assume would be in the movie somewhere. Not necessarily in the opening, but somewhere in the movie. And I like the fact that they kind of got that done immediately. It's kind of like they were basically like winking at the audience being like, we know you were expecting something like this. Let us just open with this and get it out of the way basically. And then we'll do some different things after this. So that said, even though it was kind of an expected scene, I think they did a pretty solid job with it. I did enjoy that. And from the get-go, I realized this looks really good. The cinematography, the directing, those two things coming together are really good with this. It looks super nice. It looks super polished. And it has just this kind of vibrancy to the way it looks, even though it's very dark. The lighting is outstanding for it, in my opinion, because a lot of movies will tend to kind of skew too dark when they are like dark scenes, and you'll have a hard time seeing what you need to. But they handled all the visual stuff extremely well, so I was a big fan of that one, or that aspect of it at least. Some of the music used in this was surprising, especially in the beginning of the movie. I was just not expecting to hear that type of music in this movie. I did like it. But it also felt like it didn't really go with the movie. So, I don't know. But it's not something that maintains for the whole thing. You'll see why it's in there, and I understand why they decided to go that route. But I was enjoying the music itself, but then I was also kind of like, this just doesn't feel right being in this movie. It's just a little off. Not a little. Pretty off. Pretty weird. The directing and cinematography is great. Once again, like I said, from a visual standpoint, wonderful to watch. Even watching the DVD version. I wasn't even watching it in HD, so there you go. All the acting is really good, but I do think Russell Crowe stands out. He plays Father Amorth, who is the Pope's exorcist. And as we all know, his pedigree is wonderful. He's been a very great actor for a very long time. So going into the movie, I assumed, okay, I'm going to get a very good performance from Russell Crowe. And I got a very good performance from Russell Crowe. So there you go. And it's very fitting because he's the main character that we're following. So that makes the most sense. get the strength in there. But I think everyone did a good job. I didn't see a single performance that I was like, meh, or that's bad. It was all good to really good. They move into the story actually pretty quickly. That's one of the things with this. The pacing is quite good, in my opinion. I was assuming that, like a lot of these types of Exorcist movies, it was going to start feeling like samesies. You know, they would just start rehashing kind of the same scenes over and over and over again, which I think is something that happens with a lot of these possession movies. You just keep getting the same thing over and over and over. They just have like a little different twist to it each time they're showing it. So I assume that would happen with this movie. It did not. So that was the wonderful thing. Yeah, you might have a few scenes here and there a little bit similar, but the pacing's really good because things are progressing. The story's introduced quickly and early, and that gives you the idea that they have more to tell you. They have a lot to say, and they actually do have a lot to say. There's a lot more story to this movie than I assumed there would be. I thought the whole movie was going to be, there's a possessed boy, here comes the exorcist, and it's just like the whole process of the exorcism, and that's it. There is a mystery component to this, which is my favorite aspect of it. What kept me so engaged in it and really helped with that pacing. There's a mystery that's trying to be solved, because it's not just about finding out that this kid is possessed and then just dealing with it. It's about finding out why and digging a little bit further to get to some other things that end up coming up while they're trying to figure out which demon is this that's possessing this boy and why, what's going on. So I really appreciate that they tried to go deeper with this one. So I'm down with that. The score does get kind of heavy-handed from time to time. It's not through the entire movie. The score is good, composition quite nice, but they have that tendency, like a lot of movies, especially bigger budget movies, where they just want to scream at you. They want to be beating you over the head with their musical composition, and I'm not a fan of that at all. I know it doesn't bother a lot of people, but it does bother me. I already talked about the interesting mystery component, which I was very surprised about. The CGI is pretty solid in this one. It's not 100% great because there are moments. There's like one moment in particular where the CGI looked a little bit off, but that was just kind of like the physics of it. Other than that, like, edges are smooth. It looks pretty solid. A lot of the CGI that they use is kind of done in a darker setting, which really does help kind of like smooth the edges out to make it look like it blends in to the actual world there a little bit, or a lot better. So I think they did a good job with the CGI. Although, you know, practical effects is always better. Would like to see more of that, but fine for CGI. The story is actually a lot more than I expected it would be. Once again, that is one of my biggest surprises with this movie. And I think that's why I ended up liking it as much as I did, because my expectations were not very high. They were kind of down here. And then when I realized there's a lot more story to this, that's when I started to have my enjoyment rise, because starting down here didn't take too long to get up to here with, you know, something that's well done. The movie is too drawn out, though. I will say that. For the most part, like I was saying, the pacing is quite good, but it does start to feel very drawn out, especially in the end. That's my biggest problem. I felt like the end portion in particular, that third act, was really drawn out way too much. It felt like it should have stopped numerous times. There were really good stopping points, and it just like kept going. Pretty unnecessary. So had they just kind of shortened that up a bit, I think the entire runtime would have been perfect. I think the movie's like an hour and 40 some minutes with credits and everything. So yeah, didn't need to be that long. This is my last thought on this, but this isn't just this movie. It's just possession movies in general. People acting possessed almost always comes off as goofy to me. I don't know why. I think maybe it's that they usually have a different voice that they're then matching up with someone, and it doesn't really look like it goes. Maybe that's why it's goofy to me, but all the time, no matter how the acting is done, or no matter how the movie's done, someone acting possessed just seems like comedic and goofy to me. And that's the same thing with this movie. Like, The kid who's possessed, I think, did a really good job acting wise, but like the disconnect of like the voice and the kid, it's goofy to me. But, you know, that is what it is. And maybe that's part of the reason I don't really like possession movies all that much. But this is where I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie. Go ahead and put it down in the comments. Out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it a very solid 3.5-star rating. It was a lot better than I thought. I was going in thinking 2.5, 3 maybe, but I'm going 3.5. So let me know your thoughts on it, star ratings, or just I liked it, I didn't like it, whatever. And give me like a sentence or two just to let me know why. Also, do me a favor and hit subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, hit the notification bell button because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing 3 a week at this point. Regardless, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.